Have you ever held something in your hand and known, truly known, that giving it away might mean you go without? Have you ever stood at the edge of your own need and still chosen someone else first? Have you ever done something that made no logical sense and felt deep in your heart that God was asking you to do it anyway? If you have, then today's story was made for you. Because sometimes the moment we let go of the last thing we're holding on to is the exact moment God steps in. But today, I want to tell you about a woman named Rosa and what happened after she gave away her very last dollar. What came next, she never could have imagined. Rosa was a quiet woman who lived alone in a small apartment on the third floor of a building that always smelled like someone was cooking. She worked the early shift at a laundromat, 5 days a week, sometimes 6. She wasn't rich. She wasn't famous, but she was the kind of woman who kept a small Bible on her kitchen table, worn at the edges from years of being opened in the dark. She prayed every morning before her feet touched the floor, not long prayers, simple ones. Lord, use me today. Whatever you need, use me. That was Rosa, faithful in the small things, trusting in the quiet. But this particular month had been brutal. Her hours had been cut. Her landlord had raised the rent by $40. Her refrigerator held half a carton of eggs, some leftover rice, and a nearly empty bottle of hot sauce. She had done the math 3 times, hoping it would change. It never did. After paying what she owed, she had $1 left, one single dollar bill folded in the pocket of her coat. She told herself it was fine. She told herself God would provide. But at night, when the apartment got quiet, doubt crept in through the cracks. Her sister had stopped calling as much. "Rosa, you need to be more practical," she'd said the last time they spoke. "Faith doesn't pay rent." And some nights, Rosa almost believed her. Some nights she cried at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea gone cold. Some nights she opened her Bible and couldn't read a single word, just stared at the pages until her eyes blurred. Some nights she simply sat in the silence and whispered, "Lord, it's me. I don't have much to say tonight, but I'm here." Then one Tuesday morning, on her way to work, she passed a woman sitting outside the corner store. Old coat, bare hands in the cold, a paper cup with a few coins rattling at the bottom. Rosa slowed down. She reached into her coat pocket. She felt that one folded dollar bill. She stood there for a long moment. Every logical part of her said, "You need this. You have nothing else." But something deeper, something she had learned to recognize over years of early morning prayers, said, "Give it anyway." So she did. She placed that dollar in the cup, smiled at the woman, and kept walking. She didn't look back. She didn't want to second guess what she knew God had asked her to do. She got to work that morning and moved through her shift the way you do when something is weighing on you. Quietly, steadily, one task at a time. Around noon, a woman she barely knew, a customer named Diane who came in every other week, stopped at the counter before leaving. "I don't usually do things like this," Diane said slowly, reaching into her purse, "but I felt like I was supposed to give you this." She placed an envelope on the counter and walked out before Rosa could say a word. Rosa stood there for a moment, almost afraid to open it. Then she did. Inside was $240 in cash, and a small handwritten note that said, "God told me you needed this more than I did today." Rosa had to sit down. Right there, behind the counter of that laundromat, she pressed the envelope to her chest and let the tears come. She didn't care who saw. She didn't try to compose herself. She just sat there and wept, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming, undeniable feeling that she had not been forgotten. But here's the thing about God. When He moves, He doesn't stop at one miracle. 3 days later, her manager called her into the back office. Rosa braced herself, expecting bad news. Instead, her manager told her that a long-term employee had just given notice, and she wanted to offer Rosa the position. More hours. A small raise, starting the following week. Rosa thought about that morning. That $1. That woman with the paper cup. She had given away the last thing she had, and God had returned it multiplied in ways she could never have planned or predicted. And then Rosa thought about Diane, a stranger who had listened to a quiet nudge and acted on it, who had been someone else's miracle without even knowing the full story. Rosa decided that day that she wanted to be that for someone else. She started setting aside a small amount each week, not much, just what she could, for whoever God placed in her path. Her lack had become her lesson. Her breakthrough had become her purpose. Rosa's story teaches us that obedience doesn't always make sense in the moment, but it is never wasted. Rosa's story teaches us that God sees the quiet sacrifices, the ones no one applauds, the ones that cost you something real. And Rosa's story teaches us that when we open our hands and let go, God fills them with more than we could have held on our own. If you are in that place right now, stretched thin, holding on to the last of something, wondering if it's even worth trusting, I want you to hear this. The silence is not abandonment. The waiting is not forgotten. And what you give in faith, God never wastes. If Rosa's story touched your heart today, I want you to do one thing. Type the words "open hands" in the comments below. Just that. It will remind someone else scrolling through that they are not alone. And if you know someone who is going through a hard season right now, someone who needs to be reminded that God still moves, share this video with them today. Not as a promotion, as a gift. God bless you. I'll see you in the next one.